I think that Cyberpunk 2077 is at its very best during its interactive first person cutscenes, when V is sitting around with another character and just kind of having a conversation. And on paper, there isn't even anything particularly special about these scenes. Cyberpunk is an action RPG, and there's kind of an expectation that dialogue-heavy RPGs should involve meaningful choice and consequence. And Cyberpunk does give you choices in the dialogue options, but they're really just kind of like flavor. There's not a lot of meaningful choice and consequence attached to the different outcomes of the conversation that you can choose from. It's definitely nothing like Fallout or Mass Effect, where you're really encouraged to define your moral standing in the world. Instead, in Cyberpunk, most conversations have the same outcome no matter what option you make. And so again, on paper, it might not seem like this game matches up with those other dialogue-heavy classics. But you know what? I would take the dialogue in Cyberpunk over Mass Effect or Fallout any day. The writing with characters like Pan Am or Judy Alvarez are really unusually focused, fleshed out, and relatable. But then on the other hand, there's also kind of an intangible X factor that you get from the game's visual presentation. The graphics, the environmental design, the character animations, it all adds a lot to this game's storytelling. You know, if I had to ask myself, what is my most memorable episode with this game, it was an early story mission where you meet Evelyn Parker, and you walk into a nightclub and try to pump the bartender for intel to learn about her whereabouts. And then you learn that she's set up a secret meeting in a back room, and you go meet her, and she's this blue-haired femme fatale who is trying to cut you in on a heist with all these different levels of intrigue. And as she's telling you the story, you just kind of spend the whole time wondering if she's trying to kill you or if your interests really converge. And you don't really get any closure for a long time. And you're just sitting there asking yourself, is this hot blue-haired lady trying to kill me or help me? And maybe you can understand what I mean when I say the dialogue in Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't have a lot of meaningful choice and consequence, but that's actually okay. It's kind of some of the best dialogue in the game, because it's just full of really good stories. And it all takes place in this world that looks like a giant nightclub. Everything kind of gives off the commingled aroma of sex and death, danger and glory, and that just kind of works for me. I'm not typically the kind of guy who buys into the idea that graphics matter all that much when you're assessing the quality of a game. But playing Cyberpunk 2077 recently has kind of changed my tune a little bit. If you're making a game about having a certain kind of vibe, which I kind of think is what Cyberpunk is all about, it's about a sort of neo-noirish vibe full of crooked cops, criminals with hearts of gold, in a city that looks like a giant nightclub, whose residents are all weirdly beautiful and decked out with bio-enhancing cyberware. If that's the kind of experience that you want to create, then maybe you do need the current generation of graphical technology to render it all with the rich detail that CD Projekt Red has poured into Night City. But anyways, my name's Chumpy, and consider giving me a like and a follow if you want to see more analysis of Cyberpunk and other cool single-player games. I'm working on a longer piece on Cyberpunk's vision of dystopian techno-capitalism, and I hope to see you again when it's released. And let me know in the comments what you think of the storytelling in Cyberpunk. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Am I overrating this game, or is the storytelling actually about as good as I think it is? Let me know, and thanks for watching.